We are turning things up and making a brie en croute that it is so delicious. You are going to love it. It is not your traditional brie en croute because, as we all know, brie en croute means brie like in a pastry, right? And typically it's got like some sort of sweet topping and it is delicious, whether it's cranberry or a fig jam or anything like that. However, have you ever had a savory version? Preferably something like a French onion brie en croute because it is the stuff of absolute dreams. The amount of deliciousness is unexplainable. You will love it and it will be the thing that everyone talks about when you put it out. And it's very easy. We're gonna start off with a couple of onions, thinly slice them. One gigantic onion, 3 small onions, 2 medium onions, okay? In that ballpark. And you're gonna thinly slice them and I'm gonna go ahead and cook them in my tiny little Dutch oven, like my little guy, it makes me happy. I'm gonna add those all in there. Now remember, these look like a lot, but they are gonna shrink down and they're gonna caramelize and just do really beautiful, wonderful things. And I'm going to give them something really, really important, is time. That will not come off. Time to really cook down and just be delicious. I also have a little tiny bit of olive oil in there. It keeps the butter from burning, but I also like the mixture of both. And I'm gonna go ahead and add my onions in. These are gonna take a bit to caramelize. They'll take a good like 20-25 minutes, so be patient. Don't rush the process by cranking your heat up so much that they burn, because I want them to be really soft and almost jammy. And I will show you what they look like when they're there. Hit them with a pinch of salt. Grab a wooden spoon and get to cooking. They are looking fantastic. They still have like a solid 10 more minutes to go. But at this point, I'm gonna add a sprinkle of sugar. You could do brown sugar or regular, a little tiny bit, like a teaspoon. And the only thing that this does is just reinforces that like deep sweetness and deliciousness, and a little bit of fresh thyme. You can also use, fresh rosemary, but you could also use fresh thyme. I just leave it whole so that it infuses the flavor quite a bit, and then I can just remove the stem really easily. I'm gonna let this go another like 5-6 minutes, then we're gonna add one more thing. Let it cook 2 more minutes, but I'll show you when we get there. Adding some black pepper. Get that nice and toasty. They look fantastic. You see how much they cook down? They cook down to about, I would say, a third. Now you have a lot of beautiful things happening. I want to hit this with a little bit of acid. I'm using wine. It also lifts all those really beautiful bits, and it's just fantastic and delicious, and it's like an onion jam at this point. If you don't want to use wine, you could use just a small splash of chicken stock, but if you do that, I would add just like a splash of sherry vinegar, a splash of red wine vinegar, something with a little bit of acidity, because you are going to go rich, rich, rich. Rich cheese, rich pastry. You just need a little bit of balance, a little bit of sharpness and acidity. I do that in the form of some white wine, dry white wine. I'm gonna turn this off. But you can do, like I said, a small splash of vinegar. I'm gonna just set this aside because this needs to cool. And while that cools, get your oven preheated to 400, get your puff pastry ready, and then we're pretty much gonna be ready to go. Okay, I've got my wheel of brie, and what I am doing is I'm just taking everything is completely edible. I just take a little tiny bit of the waxy part sort of on top, and I take it off, but only on the very top, because believe it or not, that coating kind of keeps the entire thing intact, and it makes it just easier for it. Like, it could still pop, it could still like, ooze out in some areas, but not as bad. So I'm gonna add a little bit of flour on my work surface. I have 2 sheets here of puff pastry. I'm gonna grab one out. Make sure that your puff pastry is thawed, but make sure that your puff pastry is not warm. Otherwise it just sticks and it's a mess, and trust me, you'll leave crying and then you'll blame me. You wanna just roll this out a little bit. First of all, you just need to give it a little give so that it becomes pliable. But also, this sort of puffs, right? Puff pastry. It will puff as it bakes. And so doing like this just Makes things a little bit easier and it won't be too thick. That is gorgeous. Now, this is gonna be the top. So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna take your onions and pretend that this is the very top, right? They're still a little bit hot, so work quickly because you don't wanna soften that pastry too much. Put that on top. And the reason we're doing it that way because we have to, I'm gonna just cut the excess off a little bit in a second. I don't even know why I did that, but that's okay. Okay. Take some of this excess off. I have an egg wash beaten here. There we go. Probably would have been helpful if I grabbed my pastry brush, which I was certain that I did, but apparently I did not. Anyway, take the excess, sort of pinch it together. The reason why I wanted to do that was because it was excess. I don't know why I just didn't do that to begin with. Sometimes I make things difficult on myself instead of making it easier. All right, sort of pinch everything together. This is gonna have so much excess. Try and pinch it all together without piercing it. That's the hard part. There we go. Perfect. Now, you have these pieces, okay, and here's what I do. My little ornament baby cookie cutter. I'm gonna cut a few of these. This is so old. Probably got those when I was 17 or 18, like a super long time ago. And this is a baby Christmas tree. And we have a little candy cane. I'm gonna brush the whole thing with some egg wash, which is just one egg beaten with either a little bit of milk or a little bit of cream or a little bit of water. Beautiful. It just gives it beautiful shine and beautiful color. And then we're gonna take my little candy canes. We did a few candy canes. And then we did some Christmas trees. And then a little ornament. I'm gonna brush that as well because I want those to get really beautiful. And this is just gonna go into my oven. Remember, it's preheated to 400. I wanna hit it with a little pinch of salt. If this was sweet, I would add sugar, but since it's savory, we're adding salt and pepper in an oven till it's like beautiful. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. This baked for about 22 minutes and look at how gorgeous this is. This has been sitting here for a few minutes. I wanted it to cool down just a bit. When you serve it, just surround it with really pretty things. And then what I also like to do, which I'm not doing at this very moment, so it's a terrible thing to say and not show you, but I also like to have like a little platters of like crackers alongside because you're gonna have a lot of filling. And so you wanna make sure that you've got, you know, something to be able to scoop it up. Look at this. This is going to be so spectacular. It will deflate. It's been sitting for a bit. Definitely cool down, thank goodness, because I was afraid I was going to burn myself. Look at that. Oh, look at it. It's just spectacular. Like I said, let it cool a bit. It's still hot. It's still hot, folks. Oh, for the love of all that's good in the world. I just destroyed that, but it's okay. You know how I do. You have to make this. It is divine. It is so gooey. It's sweet. It's got so much flavor from those onions and the wine and the rosemary. And then it has the softness of the pastry. It's still like pretty gooey, but definitely let it cool a bit. I let it cool for a solid like 15-20 minutes before I cut into it. Otherwise, everything would have oozed out so fast, it wouldn't be able to hold on the actual piece of pastry. Go to laurainthekitchen.com for the written recipe. I hope you enjoy spending time with me. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.